taking natural energy, sunlight, bending it, in essence, to let off certain spectrums of light, color, into your room. Therefore, affecting your general mood and the ambiance of your whole house, and, in essence, life. All born from sand and fire. That is the essence of glass.
As a child, I had the privilege and pleasure of growing up in a place where creativity was born and embraced, and that was in my parents, Kathy Haar and Rick Pecora stained glass shop. My brother Matt and I always had little projects, little art projects, paintings or whatever that we were working on while our parents were creating their own masterpieces. What I find most fascinating about glasswork is that when I look at a window or something that my parents created, I can't help but look at it as a symbol for our family and our journey through life. Metaphorically, I see the lead lines as pathways that we've all traveled together along the way. And I've learned to look at life as if through a kaleidoscope, where all the spectrums of color, all life's beauty and imperfections are fused together in perfect clarity. So come in and follow the lead lines of my family as they branch out.
When I was younger, both my parents, my mom and my stepfather, they had a glass shop, and they worked together every day on, sometimes collaborated on projects. I remember when I was very young, they had a place on Elmwood and Buffalo called Art Glass of New York.
I think that Art Glass of New York was one of the first or second studios in Buffalo. Yeah, I don't remember if he just built a few things and put them in the window, or I don't even think he had much in the window. I think he just put the sign up, and people started coming in and saying, "What are you doing in here?" You know, and found it absolutely fascinating, especially since he worked right there where they could see him, which is something we still do today. I mean, we're not in a back room somewhere or something. They walk in, we're building windows right there. My brother always encouraged me. You know, everything I did he thought was great.
My uncle was, I would say, infatuated with line. A lot of his stuff was geometric, but it was geometric with a flow. It had a lot of hard lines and a lot of shape to it, but it always flowed well. And even when he painted, you could see that he did stained glass because all of his paintings had hard lines and segments of color and just very strong. He was a strong artist.
My stepdad made this window, a big dragon window. I can remember the colors and the textures of the glass. The windows were very cool, and I remember them as a child. The artwork and craftsmanship of it was beautiful. But looking back at it now, like, wow, those were some huge dragons. Like, that was crazy.
He didn't have as much patience as he should have had. I was in a church one time and we were doing a repair. The repair didn't go real well. He took that piece of glass and just threw it across the church. I said, right, relax. This is, we'll do this. Don't worry about it. But he had a good eye. I think he got it from his father. I mean, I think it's, a lot of the art, I think, is generational. I mean, I see Susie's dad, Carl. He was such a sweetheart guy. I mean, everybody knew him as Grandpa.
Grandpa was the most artistic guy around. He used to paint, draw, sculpt. He was a carpenter. He could fix almost anything. He was a very creative guy. I started building windows with a lot of encouragement from Rick.
My mother's very patient and very artistic, and she's open to things.
And, it makes me happy that my brother got me into it, that my father was the original influence, that when they say, you know, where'd you learn this stuff? They say they learned it from me. I say I learned it from Rick. We were never in competition. You know, we just kind of always had fun. And yeah, he was just always very encouraging. After all these years, I still really love it. I find it real exciting still, and more exciting with the things that people are doing today.
I started dating Susie. That was my downfall.
Fran and I are so personally different from one another, but we still, you know, we still do the same thing. Only I think maybe he's not, you know, Fran can't draw a stick man.
I started dating her, and she dragged me into the trade. And I've never regretted looking back.
What was the most important thing you learned from Rick as an artist?
Patience. Patience. To do the job right and to do it as best as you possibly can.
What was the most important thing you learned from Sue as an artist?
Patience. It's all in patience.
My name is Carl Matuzak. I'm the son of Fran and Sue Matuzak. I first got involved in stained glass when I was young, just being in the shop. My mom probably first taught me how to work with glass, and she taught me how to cut and solder and all that stuff.
I really never thought that Carol would get into it. I always hoped he would, but I didn't think he would. And then he was like me, he had a couple little jobs, and then he was kind of, you know, just there. And Fran, my husband Fran, his father, just said, why don't you come and help me in the shop? And I don't know what his thing is yet. I know it's just not the traditional stained glass repair or building traditional windows.
My mom really taught me to manipulate the glass and look, I guess, more in design, because I do all of my own designs. So my mom really taught me a lot about designing around your cuts. When I learned that, I sort of evolved into the way that I do designs. She really taught me about, when I design, be thinking about that next step, because everybody's made a design before and then gone to cut it and said, wow, this is impossible. My mom always used old tools, the oldest style cutter, the same cutter that, you know, they used years ago. Very, very traditional to the fact that she makes her own glaze. It's a tried and true product, and I know the secret recipe, and it would devastate my mom if she ever knew that I told somebody the secret glazing recipe of the ancients. I'm ready to solder. I had the opportunity to grow up around glass and have an area of the shop that was mine, and could play with jewels and play with glass and watch things get done, and that was very cool. My ECMC windows, which are at the top of a hospital in Buffalo that overlooked the top of the building. I did these windows in all opaque glasses. I used a ripply, real dark, butterscotchy glass for the palm tree, and then our deep, rich green glass that, with no light shining through it, had swirls of white. I cut through the glass to find the coolest pieces to give depth to the tree and for the leaves on the palm tree. It gave it a positive feeling, and in essence, I felt good. The windows were something that, you know, will help cure people.
The majority of our work is through Jacobs Stained Glass, has been done throughout Western New York.
We buy, sell, build, and repair stained glass windows and have in the Buffalo area since, I think, 1977. We consider ourselves masters at what we do.
We get a lot of the older churches in Buffalo, Roycroft Inn.
Great work of art like that gets destroyed. It's so great that you could have a hand in fixing it. Thank goodness a lot of those windows were clear. Clear with some white or clear with some color, but we didn't really have to match glass too much on that job. We had to match lead, we had to emulate the old clear, definitely, but not to the point where we had to find these really obscure glasses that we couldn't find anymore. I just know that for Rick, the Roycroft was the biggest thing that he wanted to put his name on. When I say we did the Roycroft, we've got lists and lists of windows and churches in the city that we fixed, and people, customers that we've built windows for. But the Roycroft has a name like Frank Lloyd Wright or like Louis Tiffany or whatever. I mean, it's a big name. And all over the country, people know the Roycroft.
The best compliment that I ever got coming out of the Roycroft Inn was the preservation board coming in to preview our work, all right, at one of the inspections. And they were standing by one of the windows that we had replicated and said to one of the contractors that this window would be hard to replicate. And what he was referring to was one that we had replicated. So in essence, the person from the preservation board couldn't tell the old window from the new window, which is a nice pat on the back. To see the end result of something, it's like you'd look back and you look at it and you've accomplished a piece of art. It's, you know, very fulfilling. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be hammering nails in the boards, you know.
I like to try and build custom windows that are individual, that are a little bit more pop, a little bit less commercial. Older people like a more conservative window. I like a window that makes me think. I like windows that are more complex. In all reality, I try and build a window that is for one person. I like to build windows that one person in the world would like, and one person in the world would like a lot. I usually just make windows and think there's somebody who's got to like them because I like them. My dad wants to get his hands in on everything, and instead of teach you how to do things, do them for you. But I guess he's very good at it.
Carl's my son, and he's got his mother's eye. I mean, he has the capabilities to be better than all of us. He does drawings and stuff that I just look over with no assistance or anything else, and I just look over and it makes me feel good. Oh, we get along well. He's got, you know, there's 2 rooms there, so he's in one and I'm in the other. And usually, unless one of us is stuck or needs a hand, that's the way we're doing it.
How much glass cutting could you possibly have?
You know, he says, this is my room, get out, and I'm in mine doing whatever I have to. But when he needs, you know, consultation or whatever, I'm there for him. The only thing that's the saw would be advantageous for is some of these inside curves. And you just saw me cut one of them.
And you don't waste glass.
Right. This thing's about had it.
I rewired it and it doesn't work so much. It's so good no more.
That's probably why it's had it. You know, he grew up with a crayon in his hand. You know what I mean? And his mother put that crayon in his hand and let him go. It's not like I'm doing an instructional video. You know what I mean? Hello, stained glass. Same technique they used 1,800 years ago. Not 1,800, but quite a few. These are the hardest cuts, the inside ones.
That's how you do inside curve.
My mother's got a lot of flow to her windows. She's very good at the design aspect, and she's got a lot of artistic talent.
It's wonderful to restore a window. It's wonderful to work on some master's window. It's wonderful to design windows and to make a customer, you know, just love what you built and have them every day they look at that window and say, I love that window. That's exciting.
When you build a window, you actually control the way a person will read it. I mean, it's just, you know, the way that you direct the eye of the beholder.
I find it best sometimes just to dive in.
You're drawing a picture, but you're thinking of it in terms of pieces, like a puzzle.
I'm gonna go all by eye and just figure off center. It's probably roughly my center there. And wouldn't it be cool if we had half a circle right there?
Build things square and make sure all my lines are straight.
Sometimes what I like to do is break up the lines. Generally, it's almost a rule of thumb to start out and make your base form. I'm using, in essence, the negative space that you get, the space in here and the space over here.
There's always the hard cut that you can't make, is always taxing.
Can I cut that piece? If I cut that piece, will it be so thin at one end or another that it'll break eventually in the window?
I'm thinking of balance, and I'm thinking of, I've got a big circle here, and that's probably going to be an opaque glass, and that's going to put a lot of weight in this section of the window. So I'm going to break that up by, say, making a line, which will eventually become a form. I can see it now in my mind because I picture this just became a piece of purple glass. This, as I put this in, this is becoming a clear, ripply glass that you can't see through. Something like that, that has texture and it has weight and held up. It's going to let in different lights that are going to come through it at all different times of the day. And you can touch it because people want to touch glass because it is cool. You know, it feels different. It has shape. It has mass. And these lines on this paper eventually are going to be full. And then it will be something. Hopefully something cool. That's my design.
Stained glass is a good way of giving privacy while adding beauty.
Stained glass to me is out of the norm.
I think that just about everything nowadays needs something to make it interesting. Otherwise, people just overlook it.
How a window will change from early light to late light. I mean, the window has a multitude of character. Anytime during the day, every time you walk by it, it might look a little bit different to you. Shading, the way the tree falls across it, the way the sun sets in it. It's all change.
The light is what makes glass come alive. And textures of glass are so interesting because light will bounce off textures differently too.
Even the position of the earth, you know what I mean? The amount of sun coming through it changes it.
My favorite stained glass artist is Tiffany. He's a great artist. When you see some of his work, it takes your breath away. It's impressive and it's humbling. It's something that will last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. It's nice to know that something I built will be remembered well past when I'm gone, and that I will be remembered for doing it well past I'm gone.
Somewhere out there, there's a window that probably will last for well past any of us.
Oh, you've got all the greats, Lafarge, Tiffany, Mazer, all of them, but I look up to my wife because she's the one that dragged me down the road. She gave me the confidence to do it.
Mom has a lot of passion for it, and my dad has a lot of passion for it. I think a lot of my uncle teaching my mom, giving her something that she really appreciated was a big part of it.
What I admire the most about my family is our openness and patience for one another. I see our family as the peach tree that my father designed years ago in glass. We're all parts of the branches, held together by our roots and each other.